in the person of Kennan Burch. For those of you who have heard him before, he's a blessing, but I found that he changes lives simply by helping people understand, their most compelling truth about themselves, who they are, and who their businesses are. So if one is trying to create a brand that is sustainable, what he's about to share with you will help you get there. So without any further hesitation and any technological imperfection here.
Give me 30 seconds to make sure that everything's working in the microphone. So why don't you turn to your neighbor and ask them their favorite color while I get ready. So. All right, perfect. Okay, are we ready? Yes. All right. Is it okay if we have a little fun? Yes, I know it's about lunchtime and now is not the best time to speak to a group. So I'll try to keep this fun, but I would like to go around the room very quickly and give me your name and your favorite brand. Any kind of brand, any reason. We'll start out with Bernie here. Q-tips. Q-tips. All right, favorite brand, Q-tips, right? All right.
Apple, and I'm going to have to go with Publix. We build a lot of those.
Publix, great. Where shopping is a pleasure, yes.
Shanita, I'm going to say,
Babies Are Us, okay. Context, right? Yes.
Taylor,
Nintendo, okay.
Lee and Coke.
Coke, I've heard of them, yes.
Eric Schulman, Gibson Guitar.
Yes. Les Paul, we'll talk later, yes.
Tom Harrell, Amazon for what they've done.
Amazon, yes, I've heard of them too.
Bob Daly, I'd say Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. Circling the earth right now. Yes.
Thomas Don and SpaceX.
SpaceX, okay, great.
Kennan.
Hey, Ray.
Ray Watson. I always used to say, because I was attending some of your presentations, I used to love those exits, but I don't like the new guy. So I like it from the old guy.
Which one was it?
The beard.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, that's the most interesting man in the world. You like the old guy, but not the new.
I like the old guy.
Okay.
Myra, and I will have to say Amazon as well.
Amazon, yes.
I'd say Apple.
Apple.
Michael Vogel, Dilly.
Dilly. Yes.
Marina,
Netflix.
Rod, I would say Tesla as well.
Tesla. Back row, real quick.
Chris Ford.
Ford.
Stephanie Rosario with Disney.
Disney.
Nicole was very Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Upgrade. Lauren Arevalo, Hershey's chocolate.
Hershey's chocolate, yes.
Don has nut tape.
Duct tape.
Staff stuff.
Okay, Jed.
Jed Brennan, probably Florida Gators.
Florida Gators. Oh. All right. All right.
My apologies.
Technical difficulties. We need to take the mute button off.
Yeah, here. Here you go.
Daryl, what's your favorite brand?
Okay. Daryl, your favorite brand is Boston Whaler. Yes. You have one? All right. All right. Well, my name is Kennan, and there's a lot of brands I like, but Tesla and SpaceX come to mind, as well as Apple, Starbucks, Nike. They've just done a great job of creating stories that we all tell, right? So great brands actually live in our conversations. So a lot of times when we think of what's your favorite brand, it's what are the ones that we talk about all the time. So great brands create conversations. So a little bit about me. Who am I? I'm the founder of Brand Catalyst Partners. I started in 2008. My vision is inspiring brands to live their highest promise. So anytime I get out of bed, speak with a group of people, and potentially inspire that group of people to live your highest promise, that That's what excites me. Now, when I first started, though, it was something different. It was bringing to life brands that change the world. Now, it's still that, but I did find that when I would be in meetings like this, sometimes the CEOs in the room would look at me with, look, I'm just trying to avoid bankruptcy, I'm trying to meet payroll, I'm trying to just get by, pay my taxes. Changing the world is just so far removed from what we're even dreaming about. So I thought, okay, how about if we can inspire your team to live their highest promise? Is that okay? And everybody seemed to agree with that. But along the way, is it okay if we actually put some type of dent in the universe with your brand? So most people have said yes to that. So what does this logo represent to me? Brand Catalyst Partners. Together we will make waves. That's what those are. I want to create waves that will one day crash on a distant shore. So anytime I get up out of bed, I see that. It's a reminder to come and make some waves today. So I'm hoping by the end of the session, you all will feel that there's some type of wave that actually happened here. And so I was at Darden Restaurants for over 20 years. An interesting thing about Darden, this was their annual report a few years back. It says a brand building company, not a restaurant company. I simply say that to realize that I was actually brought up in a culture of brand building. And while I was there, I was at Red Lobster marketing for most of the time. And so we would spend over $100 million a year in advertising. So while I was there, we spent over $1 billion. I simply say that to say I've wasted more money and made more mistakes than most people have the opportunity to. We just had big budgets and opportunities to do a lot. And so with that money comes along, we got to spend money on some of the best brand building agencies in the world. These are not household names, but if you watch the Super Bowl, a lot of times you'll actually see ads from this group. But my favorite group is the Richards Group out of Dallas, Texas, founded by a guy named Stan Richards. Stan Richards is 85 years old. He still goes to work every day. They just moved into their new building in downtown Dallas. He has 750 people that work for him. And so he's not slowing down. A couple of years back, his finance guy came and said, look, our lease is up in our building. We would be better off to build our own building in downtown Dallas because in 15 years we can pay it off and everything is gravy after that. So here's an 82-year-old guy saying, when I'm 98, we're going to pay this thing off, right? And everything else is gravy. So that's just the kind of guy he is. But the University of Texas, Stan Richards School of Advertising and PR. So if your name is etched on the University of Texas, that says something. Now the question is, well, why? Who is this guy? He's not a household name, but you would know him for things like, yes, the cow campaign for Chick-fil-A, right? Tom Bodette. We'll leave the light on for you. If you go to their building, Tom Bodette is actually talking to you in the elevator, telling you what floor you're on, right? Home Depot, you can do it, we can help. Corona, Ram Trucks, and lots of other brands. If you were to ask me, what is the most important lesson I learned in spending all that money, working with a lot of different agencies, I would say I learned this lesson from the Richards Group. In the year 2003, at Red Lobster, we hired the Richards Group as our branding agency. They said, look, we want to walk you through a process that's going to take about 3 months, but it's going to culminate in a 2-day workshop where we get the president of Red Lobster, all vice presidents, and the marketing team in the same room at the same time. So we did that. 56 people showed up at the Grand Cypress Hotel. So for 2 days, we had the biggest debate that I had ever seen within our company. And all executives, president, marketing team in the same room at the same time. So we all got to speak our mind. Everybody was encouraged to participate. But at the end of the 2 days, we had one sheet of paper with our brand strategy defined in the most compelling way that I had ever seen. Now, the president of Red Lobster stood up and he said, okay, this is who we are. I want everybody to sign it. And I want everybody to go back to all your areas and line up all your initiatives against this. If it matches, great. If it doesn't, stop. Now, the Richards Group simply walked us through this process so they could get a sheet of paper, go back to Dallas, and begin to use it for advertising purposes. That's the reason they did it. But within the culture of Red Lobster, Kim Loptrup, the CEO at the time, He really took it to heart and said, we're going to live this. I realized that the agency is going to communicate it, but the truth is we better live this. So we started making great decisions quickly that impacted the restaurants in a very positive way. And over the next 6 years, every metric that we measured went up. Our sales, our guest counts, our customer satisfaction. And if you were to ask me, what is the secret of that success? It was not the $600 million we spent in advertising, because we had spent $600 million in the prior 6. It was the genius of getting everybody on the same page with what I now call our highest compelling truth. And if you can get everybody on the team aligned, thinking the same thing, making decisions with the same decision-making filter, then we can actually create something special that in the end the customer is really going to win, because we're going to deliver something that they really love. And so I looked in the mirror at the 20-year mark at Darden, and I said, am I going to be here for 40 years? The question is, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm going to be a 40-year employee of one company. And as a matter of fact, I would love to actually pursue what the Richards Group did. What they did for Red Lobster from a culture standpoint, that was genius. That was brilliant. So I thought if I could actually do that for smaller companies, that would be a dream come true. So I happened to know Stan Richards. I got to know him when we worked together on the Red Lobster account. So he gave me an hour of his time, and I flew to Dallas, and I met with him. And I said, Stan, what you did for Red Lobster was incredible. But I said, there's a lot of smaller companies that don't have a $100 million media budget. They would never hire you. They would never benefit from your type of strategy. I said, I'm getting the opportunity to speak at CEO groups on brand marketing. I've got a great story and some great slides, but the truth is a lot of it's your material, and I don't want to use it without your permission. So that's why I'm here. Here's what he said. Kennan, we like who you are. We would love to see you successful. So the process is yours. My staff is behind you. However we can help you, please let me know. And then he wrote me a quote that I know how to build the organizational conviction to deliver on a brand promise. And so I walked out of there feeling like I had been blessed by the Pope in the marketing world, and that's how I started. Brand Catalyst Partners in 2008. So I've been at it for 10 years, and I've done this over 100 times for all different types of companies, anywhere from a billion-dollar company to very small nonprofits. It's all over the map. Anybody, any product, any service, it's all about people, aligning people on what I call your highest compelling truth. I'd love to start out with an awareness test. I'm going to show you a sentence. I'd love for you to read the sentence and count the number of F's. They can be uppercase or lowercase. It does not matter. But please do me a favor. Do not say anything. All right? So keep the number to yourself. And then I want you to write it down so that nobody else sees your number. Okay? They can be uppercase or lowercase. Here we go. Does anyone need to see it again? Or does everybody have a number? I'll go either way. Everybody has a number? All right, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to go through a series of numbers, and when I call out the number that you wrote down, or that you believe was there, I simply want you to raise your hand. Now, I've done this over 400 times. Never has a group agreed on the number of F's in a sentence. I had a group of 2 people one time. They agreed, but they were wrong. This is amazing. All right.
I want to see it again.
So, you want to see it again? Anybody else want to see it again? All right, we'll see it again. So if, all right, come on. So if we see it again, there's really no reason why we shouldn't get it right, right? All right. All right, here we go. Here it is again. Keep the number to yourself. Okay, I'm going to go through a series of numbers. Simply raise your hand when I call out the number. Did anybody see 5 or less? Anybody? Did anybody see 6? Did anybody see 7? Did anybody see 8? Did anybody see 9?
I saw 9.
You cheated.
Did anybody,
Probably on our friendship.
did anybody see 10? All right, shall we read it together and count them? Let's do this together.
I'm nervous too, Lauren. I'm very nervous. 9.
Now, why is it that this is such a simple question, but we can't get it right? Here's one thing that we know. It depends on how you read as to what you see. For many people, OF converts to OV in your mind, and you cannot count what you cannot see. You don't see it. All right? So I know you all can count. I'm confident that you can count. But the question is, what did you see? The truth is, we see it differently. I did this with one group, and there was a PhD in the room. He could only see 5. He couldn't see more than 5. So it's almost like over a period of time, the more times we try to gather information quickly, we learn tricks on and reading quickly and speed. But what happens is we have all these filters in our mind, and we do not see reality anymore. Why do I show this to you? I'm convinced that people come to work every day, and they debate and they argue. Now, they're not lying to each other. They're not lying. The truth is, they just don't see the same thing. One person sees 9, one person sees 7. They go debate, they go back to the office, I can't believe that idiot would, because they don't see the same thing. How I view my job is to help organizations take all filters off so that we can all see the same thing. But not only see the same thing, see the highest thing. If there's 13, if everybody can see 13, right, then all of a sudden we align on that, all friction goes away, and we just go, all right? So that's what I'm all about, is helping take the filters off so that you can align on your highest compelling truth. So, speaking of aligning, it would be good if we agreed on a definition, right? There's lots of definitions and ways to fill in that blank. Fill it in for me. What is your first response? A brand is a...
Image.
Image, yes. Identity, yes. Some of you are looking ahead, I see. Yes. Representation. So you see that everybody has a different definition. However, if we can define it the same way, and the most useful way, that is, a brand is a promise. All right? It's like pulling back on a bow and arrow. What's the strongest promise that we can make and keep? Now, many people and organizations go through a rebranding process. Usually what they mean is we changed our logo colors, we changed our fonts, we changed the look of our logo and the look to the outside world. The question is, what's behind that? I mean, I don't even do design work. I'm all about strategy and making sure that we have a promise that we're going to deliver. And so keep in mind that most of the best logos in the world, if you Google Fortune 500 logos, they're all squares and circles and triangles. They're not complex, and people aren't buying the Starbucks coffee because of the mermaid, right? Oh, I just love the look of the mermaid. So a lot of times we kind of get hung up on the look of our logo, but the truth is it goes a lot deeper than that, right? And so what is my promise? My promise is to deliver inspirational alignment so the team is inspired, they're aligned, but also to create organizational conviction. We're going to lock arms and we're going to do something, right? What are we going to do? We're going to pursue our highest compelling truth. Now, these are not things I learned in a textbook. This is not standard branding or marketing speak, but this is truly my articulation of if we can do this, then your best days are ahead, right? And it really doesn't matter what color the logo is, it'll work. It doesn't really matter what the color of the logo is. So many folks say, I don't spend a lot of money in marketing or branding or advertising. Matter of fact, I'm a business-to-business entity. However, what if you viewed your payroll budget as your marketing budget? Okay? You're paying people to come to work every day. The question is, are they engaged in actually delivering some type of promise, something special to your customers? Or are they simply sitting in a seat doing the job that you've asked them to do? Or are they actually building brand equity for you? Because if they're engaged in delivering something special, it builds equity for your brand in the minds of your customers. But if they're just spinning their wheels, if they're not engaged, then your payroll dollars are not engaged in actually delivering your brand. My most satisfied clients are business-to-business clients. Now, I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of retail brands because we all get it, right? If I showed you a bunch of brands that you don't know about, it wouldn't make sense. But the biggest question I get is, hey, how does this apply to business-to-business? And I would say it applies to you even more, and here's the reason. Because most business-to-business CEOs don't have a budget for branding or marketing. They just don't do it. They don't think about it, and they define a brand as a logo. If you're a CEO of a business-to-business company and you define it as a promise, and all of your team are aligned on a promise, and you deliver on a promise, then you will be light years ahead of a competitor who still thinks that a brand is a logo, because you know something a lot deeper. And it doesn't even matter if you do any marketing or advertising. It's all about the people aligned to do something special. So great marketing is the truth well told, and great branding is the truth well implemented. I want to start and end with the truth, whatever that is. Complexity is impressive, but simplicity is genius. You want to get through the complexity, because a lot of you guys are complex. Almost every group I talk to is like, we're really complex. It's really hard to get down to the what are we or what do we deliver. But the truth is, if we can get through that complexity and make it simple on the other side so that everybody gets it, we're likely to do something special. How can a logo reflect the promise? Anybody have thoughts on, hey, what does the Apple logo actually mean? Or maybe what did it mean to Steve Jobs? Think different? We're different?
The opposite of Microsoft.
The opposite of Microsoft? All right.
We think outside the box.
Okay.
I hate Apple.
All right. Anybody else? Thoughts on what the logo actually means? Now,
Take a bite at the apple.
there you go. If you look at Steve Jobs' life and what he did in computers and what he did in phones and what he did in music and what he did in movies, it was almost like when he came to work every day and he saw that logo, it reminded him of his highest promise. And that is, if you ever take a bite of my technology, your eyes will be opened and you cannot go back. Almost like an Eve in the Bible. Your eyes will be opened and you cannot go back. Once you start manipulating a phone with your fingers, you don't go back to the keyboard. Once you start using a mouse for a computer, you don't go back to just the keyboard. Once you start downloading music, you don't go back to buying CDs. That was the standard that he had in his head. So that's how a logo can represent something special to the founder as a reminder, and that's why he would berate his engineers. If they just showed him something that was just a notch above Microsoft, he would say, get out of my office. That is not Apple. If it's just a notch above, that's not us. It needs to enlighten people on a new way so that when they experience, they do not go back. And most people that have moved forward with Apple products generally don't go backwards. Generally. What's that? A contagious brand is one that naturally grows without a strong need for advertising, and that's what I want to help people do. So, contagious brands are built from the inside out. So, behind the scenes, the Richards Group, 35 years of experience in building Fortune 500 brands. They have a very disciplined approach. How do you build a brand? And it's very specific, very orderly, and here it is. We start with a brand vision, then we have a brand promise. Then we have a brand personality, and then what we call a raving fan identity. So let me go through those one piece at a time. First of all, what is the highest calling of the brand? That is the brand vision. And why do we answer this question? We want to see the headlines 20 years from now. What's the highest thing that could be said about our team? If it says it, we all, yes, we did it. It sets a long-term goal. It should guide strategy decisions. Anytime you're actually discussing strategy, you should be able to have your vision statement roll off your tongue and help it guide you to go, you know, if we really follow our vision, we should go this way. All right? If our intent is this, then our strategy should help. It directs resource allocation and growth. You've got budgets, limited dollars to spend. So how are you going to spend those dollars? A good vision statement will help you direct that. But the most important thing, absolutely, if I could jump up and down on the table, most important thing that a vision statement needs to do, it needs to inspire the team. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, most organizations go through a vision, mission, values process, and you've got it written down somewhere. It's in a chart, maybe on the wall. But the truth is, if I walk into the receptionist at your office and I say, why do you work here? Does the vision statement roll off her tongue with goosebumps and it's here in her? This is why I'm here. I'm not here for the paycheck. I'm here for the most part, most companies don't have that. But it's really the most important thing if you're going to engage your people, engage your payroll to do something special, to engage that, what we call discretionary effort. Wouldn't that be great to make sure that your employees, when you're not looking, they have the opportunity to actually work hard or not. But if they're involved in something special and a vision statement engages their heart, then your value of your payroll goes up because of what they will deliver for you. It's clear and simple language to be used internally and externally. So some examples. Disney. Keeping alive the magic of childhood. Should we build this kind of theme park or this kind of theme park? What's the question? Which one better keeps alive the magic of childhood? These kind of characters or these kind of characters? Which ones better keep alive the magic of childhood? This kind of cruise or this kind of cruise? Which one better keeps alive the magic of childhood? If everyone is thinking the same thing and making decisions all the way from the top, all the way down with the same decision-making filter, then you're likely to actually end up with something that really means something special to your customers. Joe Gibbs Racing, make the car go faster. It doesn't get much simpler than that. Well, we're here, make that car go faster. Peterbrook Chocolatier here in Winter Park, sharing happiness through extraordinary chocolate experiences. All right? It's about sharing happiness. It's not necessarily about the taste of the chocolate. And Uncle Matt's Organic, fueling families with uncompromised organic nutrition. So every decision they make, is this going to help us do that? Right? Mine, inspiring brands to live their highest promise. So when I got the call from Jeff to come speak to this group, my question was, is this going to help me live this vision? And it's like, absolutely. I'm in front of another group of people. The answer is yes. What time do I show up? All right? Easy decision. Next is the brand promise that has 3 parts to it. First of all, there's a target audience. There's a category, and then there's a most compelling benefit. We're going to come up with a sentence to a certain group of people. My company is the blank that uniquely blank. To a certain group of people, a target. My company is the blank that uniquely blank. Now keep in mind your competitor is still defining a brand as a logo, so they're not even asking these questions. So let's talk about the target audience. For purposes of this exercise, we want to define our raving fans only, those who love us the most. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is we want to sell to everybody. We want to sell to everybody. And so if you try to do that strategy, try to implement that, then you become vanilla, you become nothing to everybody because they don't know who you are because you're changing every time you show up, right? Great brands. Look at a target and then look at a bullseye and actually pick a certain group of people in that bullseye and say, we're going to make a promise to you, right? And we're going to do such a good job that when that person receives this and we engage with them, they say, where have you been all my life? Right? You are exactly what I need. And they become the magnetic force to build a brand. Brand building is really about storytelling, right? The question is, are they telling great stories? And so the more that you can pick a certain group of people and do the right thing, the more compelling stories that you're going to have. And the more compelling stories, the more people will come in to your brand. We want to separate good prospects from unlikely ones. We want to consider the needs, motivations, and concerns that we can address in their lives. We want to be brief, simple, and imaginative. And we want to bring this target to life. Now, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you some target audiences that are not public information. You would never see these, okay? And sometimes it might even look offensive, but it's smart. So let me start out with a brand called Hummer, who's a target to affluent men seeking unique experiences as the means of self-expression. To affluent men seeking unique experiences as a means of self-expression. Now, you would never see that publicly, right? However, you're the CEO of Hummer. You got to sell this thing. First question, is this more of a man car or a woman car? Well, it kind of came from the Armed Services, so it's kind of a manly car. What else do we know? It's expensive. They have to have money. What else do we know? Well, when it pulls up somewhere, it kind of makes a statement. It doesn't blend in. It expresses itself, right? So why don't we pick those kind of people? Affluent men who want to express themselves. Now then the question is, did women buy a Hummer too? And the answer is yes, but not because they targeted women. Every decision behind closed doors, what colors should it be? What type of technology should we put in this thing? What type of branding and marketing and advertising and fonts and sound? Please that guy. Please that person. They become your raving fan. They bring others with you. Okay? Next, Chick-fil-A, to choosy people in a hurry. What Chick-fil-A wants, if you consider yourself a choosy person, it's lunchtime. You're hungry. They want you to pass McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, pull into Chick-fil-A, and have this feeling like, I'm at my kind of place. Right? You look at the menu. Guess what? It's a lot more expensive than them. But guess what? You don't care because you're a choosy person.
This is the truth. Not true.
You don't care. You realize that they have hooked up their bank account to your choosiness. Right? Isn't that brilliant? It is. Have they done well? Absolutely. What else do we know? These people are in a hurry. Right? So guess what? They're never going to do anything that will slow down the drive-through line. The chef could come up with the best tasting new sandwich or new item. But if it takes too long to cook or takes too long to process, wrong decision. Not about taste. It has to taste good. But that's not the ultimate decision maker. It is, how fast can we get this thing going? Right? So if they know who their target is, that's why you physically see people outside in the parking lot with iPads and people running food to get that line as fast as possible. Now, every time I have a Whopper, I get in line at Burger King and I'm like, please, I want it my way, but not at this pace. Come on, please, right? So, to choose EP. Now, how brilliant is that? It's very simple, but brilliant, right? Next. Peter Brook Chocolatier, to active, affluent-minded women who appreciate style, quality, and fun. Now, they don't need to be rich. They just need a credit card. They need to feel affluent-minded, all right? Right? They can't afford Tiffany's, but we're gonna afford Peter Brook chocolate. All right? It's that kind of brand. Uncle Matt's, the highly educated soccer moms with discretionary income. Now, when I worked with the Uncle Matt's team and we were talking about Target, and we started talking about this language, they were very uncomfortable because we love everybody. We want everybody to enjoy our orange juice, right? But we started talking about it. Look, if you go to Publix and you look at Uncle Matt's orange juice on the shelf, it's $7.58. And it's right next to Tropicana, that's $3.58. So who is it that's going to come buy that, love it, experience it, and buy it again and be happy in the club, right? It's primarily moms of multiple kids, soccer moms in a sense, very active. What else do we know? That they're reading labels. They've educated themselves to make sure that they're reading labels and not know what's not supposed to be in there, right? But the other thing is they have to have discretionary income. If they don't, they will never be in the core fan base. So why should you ever give a coupon? If you're trying to give somebody who's not an affluent person the opportunity to enjoy your orange juice, if you try a coupon strategy, it will not work. You will just lose margin. You're much better off to pick this person and then offer grapefruit juice and apple juice and all other kinds of juices if you're going to expand your business that way versus the other way. Jed, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I'm listening to you talk, I'm getting the chicken or the egg question in my mind, is what comes first, the product or the target?
Great question. Let's save that for the end and we'll talk about it. All right? We'll come back to that. So what's more important, the product or the target? Yeah, and I would say it probably depends on your business, right? But we'll talk about that. Next is the category. Now, what is the brand one of? You realize that 20 years ago, you started a business. You'd use your rotary dial phone, you'd dial the yellow page operator, and you would say, I've started a new business, and they would give you your options on where to actually put your new business, because there's, you know, in the yellow pages, there's sections, right? But you were not allowed to actually create a new category. It's like, no, these, you know, years ago, the yellow page gods figured out that these are all the different types of businesses that you can have, and you can fit within one of these categories. That's the way it used to be. But this day and age, you can be anything you want to be. It's kind of like, you know, what Google phrase do you want to own? Right? What do you want to be? Or what's your blue ocean? Some Harvard professors wrote a book. Many of you probably read it, but quickly, Harvard professors wrote a book that documented 10 companies that had exponential growth. They all had one thing in common. They took a blue ocean strategy as opposed to a red bloody ocean where the sharks are feeding in the same area for the same food. Very competitive. An example, Southwest Airlines, when they first came out, this was unheard of. They said, okay, no first class, no assigned seats, no food. We're going to be smaller planes, short distances, but we're going to be low cost and have fun. If you want us, that's us, but we're really not even going to play the game in putting our airfares on any other online portal. You want us, we're over here. Now, did they win? They won pretty big. They created something new and different. And so, if you can ever create something new and different, then you have no competitors. Another example is Cirque du Soleil. It's like, is it a show? Is it a circus? It just kind of doesn't fit. And if it doesn't fit in a category, you create your own thing, then you don't have any competitors, right? So a little secret here. I consider myself a brand catalyst, all right? Now, most people have never heard of one, and I'm saying exactly. I don't know of any others, right? Because I don't fear that I'm going to give you a proposal, right? I don't fear you're going to look in the yellow pages and find the other 10 brand catalysts and get a proposal from them and evaluate them against me. You won't find it. Now, you can actually hire the Richards Group if you want to pay those fees, right? But if you can become something different, then you have no competitors. If you have no competitors, then you can win. Examples of category, Hummer is not a truck, not a car, it's not an SUV. It is the all-terrain vehicle. You want to buy an all-terrain vehicle, you need to buy a Hummer. Sub-Zero, the luxury built-in refrigeration system. It's not a refrigerator. It's a built-in refrigeration system. Peterbrook Chocolatier, they want to be known as the ultimate neighborhood chocolatier, not the Godiva national brand. And then recently, I saw a commercial for Gatorade. And this is what they said about themselves. We're the sports fuel company. I was like, it's the first time I had heard that. They've always been a beverage company. But over time, guess what? If you saturate the market or the market shifts or changes, today you can be something that you were not yesterday. So today, they actually continue to evaluate this. What is the highest thing that we could be? Is it a beverage company? But what if we could be a sports fuel company, right? Then it opens up ourselves to other products, right? All different types of sports fuel. New category. Next, the most compelling benefit. What is the singular thought This is hard. A singular thought that makes the brand compelling to the target. It must clearly fulfill the promise. It must be believable and true. It's either tangible or it's emotional. But you know, great brands have some type of emotional connection and don't try to sell simply on features and benefits. It's usually based on an inspired insight. I want to qualify the word usually because the truth is many companies never uncover an inspired insight. As an example, Home Depot, when they first came out, were built on this very simple inspired insight. And that is, there are millions of people who do not have the confidence to replace the wall socket or the ceiling fan. And if we can instill confidence in them, they will buy from us. So when they first started, that's what it was about. So when they would hire people, certainly they would train them at the cash register and stocking shelves and that kind of thing. But they hired some experts, right? If we're going to instill confidence, we need to have some experts here. But everybody on the team was trained to make sure that you know who the experts are, so that if you don't know the answer, at least you can point them in the right direction so that they get their question answered, so that by the time they leave this building, they have the confidence to go replace the ceiling fan or the wall socket, right? And so they did that. Then eventually they turned on advertising that was the public declaration of that. What was the tagline? You can do it. We can help. So your tagline is the public declaration of your most compelling benefit. So, you know, what happened with Home Depot? Because they're not instilling confidence anymore. They actually had to change their tagline. So years ago, you'd go up to Home Depot, there would be somebody at the front door. They'd ask you, what do you need help with? And you might say tile grout for the bathroom. They'd say, great, go see Bob on aisle 14. You go see Bob, and he's a part-time handyman who works there because he loves the place. He gets benefits. His job is to instill confidence in you. And then he would say, if you're not confident, come back Saturday. We'll do it in a class together, right? So for years, they actually trained new people that actually began their own handyman businesses, right? The do-it-yourself dream. So what happened with them? So, of course, they go public over a period of time, and they have great earnings for a period of time. And then their earnings start to flounder a little bit, and Wall Street says, hey, you're not making as much money as you used to. Maybe we need some new leadership in there to make sure we're making more money. New leadership comes in. How do you make more money? Look at your P&L statement. Well, look at all the costs for part-time people, for benefits. Like we can't afford that. Now look at all the costs for training. We are way out of line compared to our competitors. We don't need to be training our people with this amount of budget. So they cut it out. So for a period of time, guess what was happening? The public declaration still said, you can do it, we can help. But the truth is, we're not helping anymore. You can do it, we can help, but we're not helping. So they actually had to rebrand. They had to come up with a new benefit. And they decided to compete on savings, which is a tangible benefit. It's not a strong emotion. So they came up with a new tagline, more saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. So that's an example of one brand who had a very strong emotional benefit, and then over time lost that emotional benefit, and now it's a tangible benefit. All right? Now they're still doing well. They're still making money, but they don't have the same appeal as they once did to a certain group of people. Olive Garden, that makes people feel like family. So at Darden, we would spend a lot of money developing a commercial and putting it on air. And so our promotions were usually 10 weeks long, and we might spend $1 million a week in advertising, all right? And so that's a lot of money. So when we do a commercial, it better be right. So we would film the commercial, and then we would do research on the commercial to make sure it meets our standards. Well, there was one commercial that scored better than the others. It's like, wow, what is different about this commercial versus the other ones? Well, it was the first time this simple line of copy was ever used. When you're here, you're family. It's like, but what is it about that? So we do some research. We uncover an inspired insight that there are millions of families in a sense, dysfunctional families that don't get around the table like they used to anymore. And when Olive Garden said, when you're here, your family, it met this unconscious need. And there's a generally held belief that Italian families love each other and they get around the table. So it became believable and true. So it clicked. So inside the walls of Darden, leadership decides every decision is going to be based on that. So get the architects back in. We are redesigning the building. It's going to be more like a Tuscan farmhouse, right? We're going to have a 12-top table. It's like, why would you have a 12-top table in a restaurant? Because you want to be that place for those large families. And that's why you still see on Sunday afternoons a line out the door, usually with large families, getting around the table, right? So Olive Garden uncovered that insight and implemented it and had one of the best runs in casual dining history. Now, Red Lobster, also a casual dining brand, what is the inspired insight and the benefit? Here's the secret. If you do the research and you ask this question, how craveable is steak, chicken, turkey, lobster, crab, shrimp, or fish? That lobster, crab, and shrimp are more than twice as craveable as any other food protein. So we discovered when we show a slow motion butter dunk of lobster coming towards the screen very slowly with nice romantic music.
You know it's lunchtime, right?
Yes. We can show that sizzling shrimp with cracking crab with steam, lemon squeeze. We can actually ignite an unconscious visceral response so people have a craving for seafood. So much so that we eliminated all people from advertising for 8 years. It's like, why are we paying actors? It doesn't matter. We just need a hand model. Right? Now, Olive Garden, it's all about the people. So yeah, we got to pay a lot of actors over here. So it's an example of two restaurant brands that have a completely different inspired insight and benefit. Hummer, the benefit that goes where no other vehicle can go, right? Next is, Peterbrook Chocolate. They create gifts that inspire admiration. It's not necessarily about the taste. It's about like a chocolate stiletto. It's like, where did that come from? Just kind of exotic types of things that people admire. So the entire brand promise statement for Hummer: to affluent men seeking unique experiences as a means of self-expression, Hummer is the all-terrain vehicle that goes where no other vehicle can go. Got our target category, most compelling benefit. Peterbrook Chocolatier, to active, affluent-minded women who appreciate style, quality, and fun. Peterbrook Chocolatier is the ultimate neighborhood chocolatier that creates gifts that inspire admiration. That's the entire brand promise. Next, we have the brand personality. And just like people have personalities, brands have personalities. And just like we like certain kinds of people, we like certain kinds of brands, we're all different. All right? So if we can define your unique personality as a brand, it helps make all decisions. So it's a short list of distinct characteristics that define the brand. We're going to fill in the blank. Our customers love us because we are, what are the things they love us for? Let's make sure that we know what those things are. And let's make sure we never violate those things, but as much as possible, we bring those things to life. It adds depth, dimension, and character to the brand, and it helps determine the look and the feel of all communications. Now, if you've ever had the pleasure of designing a new website, or a new brochure, or a new sales presentation, right? It's usually pretty challenging because somebody in your team likes blue, you like red, somebody else likes green, I like that font, you like this font. How in the world are we going to make the decision about what should our website look like? Well, here's the answer. You know who your target audience is, and you know why they love you. And you define these words so that when you give a creative person the assignment to create a website, you say, hey, it needs to bring these things to life, right? In fonts and colors and sounds. And that's how we're going to evaluate it when we get it back. As a leadership team, it's not going to be personal opinion. It's going to be based on these filters. So examples, Hummer is sophisticated, rugged, powerful, and yes, irreverent. When they got this car from the armed services, it was rugged and it was powerful, but it was not sophisticated. So they had to make it sophisticated, right? The leather seats, the technology, all that kind of stuff. But also, the word irreverent is very important to that brand and those kind of people, right? So when they gave the assignment to the Richards Group, it's a lot easier to actually create something if you know what your target is, okay? Next, Sub-Zero, refined, passionate, creative, and enlightened. I can almost hear the symphony orchestra as she opens up the refrigerator door. It's kind of a higher end kind of brand, right? So it's a different feel. Chick-fil-A, caring, genuine, and clean-cut, yet unexpectedly fun. It's kind of like the cow campaign as well as the people that work there, right? And then Peterbrook Chocolatier, irresistible, decadent, fun, unique, and stylish. All right, so Jeff, normally at this point, I make sure the door's locked, okay? Because, yes, we are about to reveal the secret of branding. Secret. Now, everything that we've talked about so far has been good, and we'll take your brand from here to here. But if you want to take your brand from here to here, there's a concept that we need to understand. And most brands don't get this. Here it is, that the highest purpose of a brand is to affirm people for who they are, what they believe, and what they aspire to become. And I'm walking over here for a little bit of a prop, so anybody know what this is? It's a branding iron. It is actually my logo. Yes, at the end of this, we're going to have a branding session. Right? We got the fire hot outside. Right? If you can do this, all right, if you can affirm people for who they are, what they believe, and what they aspire to become, that's when they will eventually tattoo your logo on their body, because it means something, right? Some people actually tattoo logos on their body. Why in the world would they do that? It is because of that very simple concept that it says something about me. So how do we go about understanding this or identifying this? First of all, we look at our raving fans. Who are they? What is their identity completely separate from us? All right, who are they? Why do they love themselves? Why do my fans love themselves? Everybody's also always going to make decisions in your own personal self-interest. Always. We need to make sure that we understand what their self-interest is. What makes them proud to be associated with us? Do they like to wear our hat, put our bumper sticker on their car? Do they like to invite people to your office, your parties? Do they invite you to their parties? So that affiliating with you means something. What does the brand say about them? It's like a club that customers join. You're either in or you're out. Great brands, you're either in or you're out. Another way to illustrate the emotion behind this is, I read a story one time about a gentleman who was getting his doctorate degree in Native American Studies. And so part of the program was to spend 3 months on a reservation over the summer. And so while he was there, he actually slept in teepees, he actually hunted with the men, he actually worked with a lot of the people during the day and making things. After 3 months, now keep in mind they did not speak the same language. All right, so all communication was nonverbal. He's getting ready to leave. There's a woman standing there that had worked side by side with him every day for 3 months. And she says something to him. He does not understand what it is. But the interpreter said, "Do you want to know what she said?" And he said, "Of course." This is what she said. "I like me better when I'm around you." I like me better when I'm around you. Even if you never said anything. Somehow your nonverbal communication, everything speaks. And everything about him somehow made her say, I like me better when I'm around you. Now, the truth is, that is really the core of branding. I like me better when I'm driving this car. I like me better when I'm wearing these shoes. I like me better when I'm wearing these glasses. I go in the closet. I like me better when I'm wearing this shirt. I like me better when I have this purse. If we understand that, I like me better when, we need to make sure that we help them love themselves when they're around us. So they would say, I like me better when I have BCP tattooed on my arm. Or I like me better when I'm at your event. Yes? Another example, there's a guy named John who loves Starbucks. On his way to the office, on one particular morning, he gets his favorite cup of coffee, and he uses language at Starbucks that he can't use anywhere else, right? They have their own lingo. He can't use that language at Dunkin' Donuts or 7-Eleven. So he gets his favorite cup of coffee. He goes to the office. And on this particular day, there happened to be a little gathering in the break room. Everybody's milling around having coffee and getting ready to cut the birthday cake. So let's just say he's getting ready to walk in the room to have casual conversation with his colleagues. But let's just say that I can stop time for a second. I remove the coffee cup from his hand, and I pour the coffee into a 7-Eleven cup. And I put the 7-Eleven cup in his hand, and I resume time. Now, as John realizes there's a little different texture on the cup, and he turns it around, there's a different logo. He takes a sip, it's the same coffee, different cup. The question is, does he feel the same about himself? Is he going to walk in that room with the same confidence, having the same conversation that he was about to when there was a Starbucks cup in his hand? And I would say for John and the average Starbucks consumer, there's some sweat forming on the brow. There's something not right in the universe. Not sure what it is, but he's uncomfortable. So is he going to drink it really fast? Is he going to throw it away, or possibly exert the emotional energy to hide the label on the cup as he's walking around? Now keep in mind, nobody else is paying any attention to this. They're all in their own little worlds. All of this emotional cognitive dissonance is within himself, right? Now there's a whole other group of people who would never pay $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee, right? And if you put a Starbucks cup in their hand and force them to walk in the same room, they would walk around apologizing. I didn't buy it. The boss bought it. It was on the expense account. I found the cup somewhere. I didn't do this, right? We all know this is true. So what's the truth behind what's really happening? It's almost as if that's a Starbucks cup, that's a Starbucks label, there's a wire attached to this blinking billboard that expresses something about me. And so if I'm a Starbucks fan, and that's a Starbucks logo, it says something to the world that makes me say, I like me better when I have this cup in my hand. But all of a sudden, when that changes to a 7-Eleven cup, it's almost like it's expressing something to the world that I don't like. Maybe it says, I don't care, I'm cheap, or it says something that doesn't reflect well on who they are, right? So you have to know who your target is and know what they're going to be affirmed for to make sure that you line up with their expectations. Yes? So let's pretend that there are two Hummer drivers that drive up to a stoplight. There's a blinking billboard on top of their cars. They look at it, each other, they read it, they get their lighters out and they go, yes, that is us. What does it say about them? Why does a Hummer driver love themselves when they drive a Hummer? Because I'm a thrill seeker who finds exhilaration in power. I enjoy breaking new ground. I am secure enough not to need to prove myself or justify my decisions. Basically, I don't care. Right? Now, a Prius owner drives up next to the Hummer. There's a different blinking billboard that says something about them. I do care about the planet. I can't believe there's people like you who would actually drive a Hummer who doesn't care. Now, if I kidnapped both drivers and I forced them to drive the opposite vehicle. Now, this is simply transportation, right? Get you from point A to B. No, these people have an absolute meltdown. Nobody else is paying attention. They don't care. But it's all internal because this says something about me. If we can understand this, this helps us work with our clients so that they love themselves when they hang out with us. They love themselves when they do business with us. And guess what? Everybody wins. In that scenario, everybody wins. They win, you make a lot of money. They're choosy, that's fine. They're paying you a lot of money. That's good. Everybody wins. Next, Peterbrook Chocolatier, what does it say about these ladies? It says, I am savvy, stylish, and successful, and I enjoy making people happy. I love the feeling I get when I walk in with a Peterbrook bag. I know I've made a statement, all right? Now, last but not least, let's pretend that we're at Publix, and there's two highly educated soccer moms with discretionary income. They have filled their shopping carts with Uncle Matt's organic products. There's a blinking billboard above their head. What does it say about them? It says, I'm smart, savvy, and love simplicity. I invest in real organic food that is pure, nutritious, and full of flavor, the way nature intended. I like me better because it reflects that. Now, I'm about to show you an example of how the Richards Group actually did this in a Super Bowl commercial. But I'm going to go over here and make sure that the speaker is on to make sure that the technology is about to work, because the last time I was here, I clicked the button and nothing happened, right? We don't want that to happen, so I'm hoping that we're going to have some sound here. So
you'll feel better if you're
so I will feel better about me.
Yeah, because I sold for about you.
All right, so let's see if this.
Day. God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shake an axe handle, grow a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners, somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk, somebody who'd lay the family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh, and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
So, purpose of the ad. Affirm Ram truck drivers for who you are, what you believe, and what you aspire to become. So the next time, when it comes time to buy a new truck, what are you going to buy? Ford. Or maybe even, yes, we do have some Ford owners. But it can also make a Ford dealer or person maybe even question them driving a Ford. So, last slide here. Once we develop all this and make sure that everybody's aligned, then it's so much easier to do your website, your merchandising, packaging, promotions, architecture, hire the right employees, sales pitches, advertising, public relations, media, and events. Everything, all touch points are aligned. And so, last slide. A contagious brand is one that naturally grows without a strong need for advertising, and that's what I'm about. So I normally have another slide that says questions, but Jeffrey has said we need to wrap this up. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff, and see where you want to go with this, all right? Thank you for listening.